Peter Van Sant and Leah Morton's names carry the mystery that grips Pine Harbor when Leah vanishes without a trace. Peter uncovers a maze of hidden identities, buried clues, and a chilling truth that proves even the closest neighbors can harbor dangerous secrets. The small coastal city of Pine Harbor had always seemed like the kind of place where time moved a little slower and everyone knew one another's routines. Fishing boats rocked gently in the harbor, and narrow streets carried the scent of salt and baked bread from the corner cafes. In such a town, surprises were rare, which is why the disappearance of 23-year-old Leah Morton sent a shock through every block and back alley. Leah was an art student known for her bright sketches of the waterfront and her habit of biking everywhere with a paint-stained backpack. On the evening she vanished, she finished her shift at a local cafe as usual, said goodnight to a coworker, and was seen walking toward the parking lot where her small green hatchback waited. When the cafe owner arrived the next morning, the car was still there, locked, with the keys resting on the driver's seat as if carefully placed. Her phone sat in the cup holder, its battery dead but undamaged. At first, police wondered if Leah had simply chosen to leave on her own. There were no signs of a struggle, no witnesses to any confrontation, and no immediate evidence of foul play. Some neighbors quietly suggested she might have run away to escape the quiet life she often sketched, but never seemed to fully embrace. Yet her closest friends and her younger brother insisted she would never disappear without a word. Leah had plans to meet a professor about an upcoming gallery show, and had recently purchased supplies for a large mural she had been excited to start. The search began with a sweep of the nearby woods and the harbor itself. Boats dragged the shallow water, and volunteers walked shoulder to shoulder through thick undergrowth, calling her name until their voices grew hoarse. Nothing turned up except a single paintbrush caught in the reeds near the shoreline, a common brand she used, but not enough to be proof of anything. As hours stretched into days, the town shifted from anxious hope to quiet dread. Flyers with her smiling face covered every shop window, and candlelight vigils filled the central square. Local authorities faced mounting pressure from residents and media outlets eager for answers, but with each passing night, the trail seemed to fade. It was at this tense moment that investigative reporter Peter Van Sant arrived in Pine Harbor, drawn by the odd details and the uneasy silence that had settled over the community. He sensed that beneath the postcard-perfect surface of the town lay a hidden current, something darker than anyone wanted to admit, and he intended to follow it wherever it led. Peter Van Sant began his investigation by walking the quiet streets of Pine Harbor, noting how quickly a cheerful seaside town had grown tense. He spoke with shop owners, fishermen, and cafe regulars, gathering small fragments of information that the official reports overlooked. The police had scoured Leah Morton's home and computer, finding nothing more than unfinished sketches and everyday messages with friends. Yet Peter sensed patterns in the details, subtle threads waiting to be pulled. He requested public records on recent crimes in the area and spent long evenings in the town archives, a dim room that smelled of old paper and salt air. While reviewing the reports, Peter noticed a series of strange incidents stretching back nearly a year. Several small businesses, an antique shop, a corner grocery, a boat rental shack had been broken into late at night. In each case, security cameras failed during the exact window of the intrusion. Nothing of obvious value was stolen. Instead, objects like a brass compass, a weathered logbook, and vintage sailing maps had gone missing. The pattern was subtle enough that local police treated each event as isolated, but Peter felt they formed a single chain. Leah's disappearance had taken place near one of these break-in sites, only a few weeks after the most recent incident. Searching through surveillance footage that was not yet archived, Peter discovered a grainy image from a hardware store recorded 3 months before Leah vanished. It showed a tall figure exiting the store close to midnight, the face hidden under a hood. The person carried a duffel bag and wore a dark raincoat with an unusual patch on the sleeve, a faded emblem of the old Pine Harbor Sailing Club, a design no longer produced. That small, nearly forgotten detail caught Peter's attention more than anything else he had uncovered. Determined to trace the emblem, Peter interviewed older residents who remembered the club's heyday. Several recalled that only a handful of the original members were still alive, most retired or living quietly along the coast. Among the names that surfaced was Captain Elias Rourke, a former fisherman known for running late-night tours years ago. He kept mostly to himself now, living near the edge of the marina in a weathered boathouse. The coincidence of the sailing club emblem, the late-night burglaries, and Rourke's solitary habits sparked Peter's curiosity. It was the first lead that felt less like rumor and more like a door waiting to be opened, and he resolved to follow it before it, too, slipped away like the tide. Captain Elias Rourke lived in a weather-beaten boathouse at the far end of the marina, a place where gulls circled and the smell of tar and seaweed lingered year-round. When Peter Van Sant arrived, the captain was hauling nets from a small skiff, his face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Rourke was polite but distant, speaking little and offering nothing beyond vague comments about the weather. The man's reputation in Pine Harbor was a mixture of respect and unease. Years earlier, he had guided night tours for visitors eager to hear ghost stories about the coast, but he abandoned the business without explanation. Since then, he kept odd hours, leaving the dock at midnight and returning just before dawn. Locals whispered about strange lights on the water and the sound of engines long after the harbor had gone quiet. Peter noted details with a journalist's precision. The old boathouse was stacked high with fishing gear and sealed crates that smelled of oil and salt. Behind the nets and rope, he spotted a narrow staircase leading to a small loft. Inside, dust covered most surfaces, but an old trunk stood out. After gaining permission from authorities to examine the property, investigators opened the trunk and found a weathered leather journal. Its pages were filled with uneven handwriting and dates matching the nights of the unsolved break-ins. Alongside each date were sketches of women drawn in charcoal, their features hauntingly similar to Leah Morton. Even stranger was a folded map tucked in the back of the journal. It highlighted a chain of small islands just off the coast and circled a single location, the abandoned lighthouse on Stag's Point. Residents often warned visitors about the island, claiming the cliffs were unstable and the building ready to collapse. Rourke denied any connection to the burglaries or Leah's disappearance, insisting the journal was simply a record of old stories he once told tourists. Yet he could not explain why the sketches so closely resembled a woman who had vanished only weeks earlier. Authorities organized a search of the lighthouse, taking boats across choppy water under a gray sky. Inside, they found empty rooms echoing with the crash of waves, rusted machinery, and wind-whipped debris. There was no sign of Leah, but near the spiral staircase lay a single fresh footprint in the thick dust, as if someone had been there only hours before. The discovery unsettled everyone present. It was evidence of a visitor, yet the island was supposed to be deserted. For Peter, the footprint signaled that the trail was still alive, and that someone, perhaps not the captain at all, was playing a hidden game along the lonely coast. While investigators focused on the mysterious captain, Peter Van Sant kept digging through the quieter corners of Pine Harbor. He revisited Leah Morton's apartment building, a weathered 3-story house divided into small rentals. Neighbors described Leah's landlord, Marina Holt, as polite but oddly private, a woman who appeared without warning to collect rent or repair a squeaky hinge. Marina volunteered at the local sailing club years ago, an overlooked detail that now caught Peter's attention. Curious, he requested background checks and found that Marina had moved frequently under different last names, each time leaving behind little trace of her history. Peter examined the fingerprint report from the boathouse and felt a surge of disbelief. Among the partial prints lifted from the trunk and journal, one set matched Marina Holt. The discovery shifted the entire investigation. Marina had claimed never to have visited the marina, yet her fingerprint rested on property tied to the break-ins and the eerie sketches. When police approached her for questioning, she remained calm but avoided specifics, insisting she barely knew Leah and had no reason to harm anyone. A warrant to search Marina's storage unit revealed a scene more unsettling than anyone expected. Inside were metal shelves stacked with boxes labeled only by dates. Each box contained surveillance photographs of various tenants she had housed over the years, including multiple images of Leah captured from different angles. Among the items were wigs, oversized coats, and a collection of sailing club patches identical to the emblems seen in the hardware store footage. Investigators pieced together that Marina had been using disguises to move around town unnoticed, sometimes appearing as an older man or a hooded figure on late-night streets. Despite the mounting evidence of stalking, Marina offered a startling explanation. She claimed she had been watching Leah to protect her, not hurt her. According to Marina, Leah had confided fears about someone else, an unnamed man who lurked near the cafe and left unsettling notes. Marina said she followed Leah at night to keep her safe from that unknown threat. Yet she could not produce any notes, witnesses, or proof. The conflicting stories deepened the mystery. Peter sensed that Marina's version held fragments of truth mixed with deliberate misdirection. If she truly feared another predator, who was it? And why hide behind disguises instead of seeking help? As the town debated her motives, the unanswered questions only grew, pulling the investigation further into a maze of obsession, secrecy, and a danger that refused to reveal its final shape. Weeks after Marina Holt's arrest, Pine Harbor tried to return to its usual rhythm, but unease lingered like a fog over the waterfront. Boats still rocked in the harbor and tourists still came for sea views, yet conversations and cafes always circled back to Leah Morton. With Marina denying any harm and no body recovered, the community remained trapped between hope and dread. Peter Van Sant, unwilling to let the story fade, continued his own search for answers, combing through the lighthouse records, coastal maps, and every scrap of evidence that hinted at where Leah might have gone. A sudden coastal storm provided the first new clue in days. Heavy rains battered the rocky shore near Stag's Point, loosening layers of earth and revealing a metal box wedged beneath driftwood. A hiker spotted the glint of rusted steel and reported it to authorities. Inside the box lay Leah's sketchbook, edges warped from moisture but pages intact, along with a half-finished letter written in her familiar looping handwriting. The letter described her growing suspicion that Marina was following her. She detailed late-night footsteps outside her window and the feeling of being watched as she walked home from work. Most chilling was her final line. She planned to confront Marina the very night she disappeared. Forensic testing linked the box to Marina. Her fingerprints marked the lid, and traces of soil from her storage unit matched the dirt inside. Yet the discovery only deepened the puzzle. There were no signs of violence, no personal belongings beyond the sketchbook, and still no indication of Leah herself. Marina maintained that she buried the box only after finding it near the lighthouse, insisting Leah must have hidden it first. Investigators could neither confirm nor fully disprove the claim. The case stalled, balanced between circumstantial evidence and unanswered questions. Some residents believed Marina acted alone and concealed the truth. Others whispered that a second figure, perhaps the mysterious man Leah feared, remained at large, clever enough to erase his presence. As months passed, public attention shifted, but Pine Harbor never truly let go of the mystery. Peter concluded his report with a quiet reflection on uncertainty. Leah Morton's disappearance lacked a final chapter, a reminder that real life often resists neat conclusions. He warned that familiar faces can mask hidden motives and that even the most thorough investigations can leave shadows unexplored. In Pine Harbor, the tide kept rolling in and out, carrying with it the unanswered question of what really happened the night Leah Morton walked into the darkness and never returned.